don't try to be a person of success. Try to be a person of value. So at this age and having traveled this far in my corporate journey, I would like to be a person of value to whichever organization I might be serving. So that would be my professional vision.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, brought to you by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. I'm your host, Sunny Pancholi, and today we have the privilege of speaking with an accomplished leader in corporate governance, legal strategy, and compliance. Our guest today, Ms. Jayita Ganguly, is a seasoned governance professional with extensive experience in legal, secretarial, and strategic roles. As the company secretary and compliance officer at Nextenders, she has played a critical role in corporate governance, regulatory compliance, and high-stakes legal matters. Her expertise spans everything from structuring joint ventures and managing litigation to leading complex financial and strategic decision-making processes. Beyond compliance, Ms. Ganguly has been instrumental in driving governance excellence, ensuring transparency, and strengthening corporate ethics. Today, we will explore her journey, the challenges and triumphs that have shaped her career, and her insights into the evolving world of governance and corporate leadership. Ms. Ganguly, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you for having me here. It's an absolute honor for me.
Great to hear that. So, to kick things off, Ms. Ganguly, career in governance and legal strategy often follow a structured path, but the stories behind them are anything but predictable. And your journey has spanned high stakes legal decisions, corporate compliance, and boardroom strategy, each step shaping the leader you are today. So, if we rewind to the beginning, was there a defining moment, a challenge, or even an unexpected turn that set everything in motion for you? What drew you into this field, and how has the journey shaped your perspective along the way?
Yes, so as is often said that career is not a destination, it's a journey, with its own ups and downs, its pitfalls, its triumphs, and mine has not been any different. As a commerce graduate studying in University of Calcutta, I was, getting quite intrigued with corporate law, particularly to do with boardroom dynamics. And while I was doing my college, I got an opportunity to tour two leading companies, those days headquartered in Calcutta. One was Shawwalis and the other was ITC. So when we went to these two companies and were taken around their boardroom, I was actually quite amazed to see those long tables, those stacks of books. And I could get an imagery that this is the place, this is the room that key decisions are made, that strategies are developed, and a place which shapes the future of the company. So if I may say, that was the little nudge which pushed me to take up the profession of company secretaryship, because that gives you a kind of direct access to boardroom, to key decision making. And so thereafter, I did my course. I entered the corporate field, and I have been here for more than 2 decades now, spanning from legal, secretarial, finance, audit, also quality audit like ISO, CMMI, and, international laws, international compliance. So that's how my journey has spanned and, enriched me both personally and professionally.
That's such a fascinating journey, Ms. Ganguly. It's incredible how those early experiences shape your perspective and led to you where you are today. All right, so moving ahead, Ms. Ganguly, the role of a company secretary and compliance officer is often one of the most demanding in an organization, balancing legal intricacies, regulatory frameworks, and financial oversight, all while ensuring smooth corporate governance. And at Nextenders, you have navigated these complexities at the highest level. So looking back, what have been some of the most challenging situations you have faced in this role, whether in legal disputes, high-stake negotiations, or regulatory hurdles? How did you approach them and to ensure the best outcomes?
Yeah, so if I would like to highlight two key challenges that I have faced in my current organization. One would be regulatory change. The company that I have been working for, we are in the space of e-procurement. So from physical tendering, when things moved online, where tenders are floated online, people submit their bid online, and tenders are opened and awarded online. So we are the company that makes the software or the engine that drives this entire procurement space. And in our initial days, we were mostly doing government e-procurement, doing the procurement for state governments, for banks, for PSUs, and stuff like that. But then in around end of 2016, Government of India came out with its own government portal for procurement, called, many people know it these days, it's very popular, called the Government E-Marketplace, GEM in short. And slowly, central government mandated all state governments and all PSU, as well as banks, to move from private companies like ours, who were doing the procurement for them, to the central government portal. So we picked up as an organization these early trends. In those days, I'm talking about 10 years back, our turnover, if I were to split, was around 80% from domestic business and 20% from export. So when we got this initial signs that, the government business or the government or the domestic turnover might shrink, we immediately turned our vision towards the export market, tried exploring the countries outside of India, and have successfully navigated very unknown territories like Africa, Southeast Asia, some parts of UK. So these were totally unknown territories. To know their procurement regulation, to know their overall, international regulation, to find out and collaborate with local partners there, to set up joint ventures, subsidiaries, whatever is required, whatever is demanded at that point in time. So to pick up those early signs, to quickly research about those things, and most importantly, to adapt very quickly to the changing scenario. So that is what has kept me going. That is what has kept our organization going. And now the table has completely turned head on. So now from 2080, wherein 20 was export revenue, it's now 80% export and 20% domestic. So that was a challenge. We picked up the early signs and we moved accordingly and navigated it. The second, I would say, I have seen, because I operate in the MSME sector. So I have found that access to good capital is a challenge for most MSMEs, because banks or NBFCs for that matter, are not willing to lend without steep collaterals. The terms are not always very favorable. Interest rates are quite steep. So, getting funds, your working capital might be sufficient to meet your day-to-day needs. But if you want to move to the next league, the next level, you need new fund infusion. So access to good capital is a challenge I have seen. I have been fortunate enough to be associated with two rounds of funding in my current organization, one venture capital round and one through a listed public company. So for that also, I would say that picking up these early trends, how the entire ecosystem around financing is working, to understand that ecosystem, to reach out to the right kind of investors who might not necessarily always be financial investors. In most cases, they're not. You need strategic investors who are strategically married to you, who understand your business, who understand the growth path of your company and accordingly value your company likewise, because the funding that they will make, an investor will make, depends on how they value your company now. So these are the two key challenges I would say I have faced in my organization. And picking up early trends, researching, reaching out to the right kind of people is and good leadership with deep insight is something which has helped us as an organization to navigate through these complex challenges.
Those are incredible examples, Ms. Ganguly, and it really shows the level of strategic thinking and expertise required to navigate such complex challenges. So, moving forward, Ms. Ganguly, winning major arbitration and mediation cases is no small achievement. We all know that. It requires deep legal acumen, strategic foresight, and the ability to navigate high pressure situations with precision. And dispute resolution isn't just about legal arguments, it's about understanding the nuances of negotiating stakeholder dynamics and finding solutions that serve the best interest of all parties involved. So, what, in your experience, have been the key factors behind your success in handling complex litigation and arbitration matters? And is there a particular case or lesson that stand out in shaping your approach?
Yes. So litigation, whether inside courtrooms or outside, arbitration or mediation, whatever it may be, three key things I would like to highlight. First is, whichever organization or whichever individual you might be serving, it is very important to understand the business process end to end. Most often than not, we find that finance, legal, secretarial, they work in silos. They just restrict themselves to their own department. But when there is a legal dispute, it mostly hovers around a particular defect, a fault, or something which might have happened or has been accused to have happened in the business process. So it's very important to understand the business process, to talk to your business managers, your delivery leaders, your chief operating officer, to step out of your own comfort zone and understand what this end-to-end business process looks like, so that you exactly know where the dispute is arising from and how to counter your arguments around that dispute. Because your lawyer or your counsel, whether in court or in arbitration, will be as good as you have been able to brief your counsel. So your homework is of utmost importance, and do not restrict oneself to just the legalese of it. You have to step out of that and understand how to merge the business process with that legality, so that you can give a comprehensive background or backstory to your counsel, and accordingly your counsel is able to put forth the right kind of arguments. Second is, when you draft contracts or agreement, whether it is with your client, whether it is with your vendor, third party, anyone, you keep on picking up from these experience. What are the disputes that normally you encounter? And you suitably build in those clauses in your agreement to safeguard your organization. Like for a software company, our prime focus is our intellectual property, because data is king for us. So our prime focus is our IP. And hence, when we draft contracts, we put a lot of emphasis to see that the data privacy, the IP clauses are very well drafted. And there is no loophole left there. So that, there is no ambiguity. More than loopholes, there is no ambiguity. We thrash it out prior to signing the contract, so that we don't have to later fight it out in court or outside court. So that's another lesson that I have learned over the years. And thirdly is to understand what your opponent is throwing at you in terms of their counter argument. So you have to read their counter arguments, their rejoinders, their brief very well. And accordingly prepare your responses around that as well. Because ultimately it's a back and forth. So, of course, your own ground has to be strong. You have to stand firm on your own ground, but at the same time combat the counters that is coming from your opponent. So these are the key learnings for me as a person professionally, as well as for the organization as a whole, which has helped us to win very important legal cases, both in and outside of court.
And that's truly impressive, Ms. Ganguly. Successfully managing high stakes disputes requires not just legal expertise, but also strategic foresight. And it's fascinating to hear how you have approached it.
Yes, absolutely. It requires a lot of strategic foresight.
So, Ms. Ganguly, moving ahead in today's fast evolving regulatory landscape, where even small lapses can have serious consequences, how can companies strategically leverage technology to enhance compliance and governance? And part B of my question is, how can leadership teams be encouraged to see this as an enabler rather than just another regulatory requirement?
Yes. Technology is something which no one can avoid these days. So the faster we are able to adapt to it, the better. Because it is here to stay. It is here to only improve our life, provided we build ethical standards around it. So, in our organization, like data analytics and reporting is something which we have used technology to drive that aspect. There are huge sets of data which are analyzed by technology and necessary reports, MIAs generated so that, the risk, the trends can be seen early on, which is very difficult for a human being to analyze that amount of data. It's rather impossible. So technology has to be used for those things. Then comes workflow automation. The repetitive kind of tasks need to be completely automated, because when technology is available, why not? And use the productive manpower of people in doing something which will take the company to the next level, rather than being in the same rut and doing the repetitive kind of task. So workflow automation is another thing where technology can be a big enabler. And third, which we have just kind of I would say exploring, is using blockchain. So that's another thing that we are doing for providing a secure and transparent audit trail of all the transactions. So that is something that we are exploring at our organization, and even generally global, in the global landscape also we can see AI and blockchain being used a lot these days to enable organizations to quickly move on to the next level from the level that they are currently in. As I have said, but we need to have regulatory frameworks, ethical frameworks, and transparent mechanism built around it, so that as you were mentioning, that the part B of your question, that how can leadership be encouraged to go into that. So for that, I think most of the time leadership are a bit hesitant, because they are not very sure where this would be leading them. But if we have robust regulatory mechanism, by robust, I do not mean a stranglehold, but something which is ethical, something which is transparent, something which is accessible, then I think leadership would not have any hesitation to adapt that in their organization. That would be my take on this.
Let me tell you, Ms. Ganguly, the way you frame automation as a strategic enabler rather than just a compliance necessity really shifts the narrative.
Yes, absolutely. And it really should act as a driver for growth, rather than being something which pulls it down. It's not the case. It's a driver.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, Ms. Ganguly, with such a distinguished career and, in corporate governance, legal strategy, and compliance, you have already made a lasting impact in the industry. But every great leader is always looking ahead, right? So, as you continue to shape governance and strategic decision making, what are your future aspirations, both in your professional journey and in terms of taking on boardroom leadership roles? And is there a particular vision or goal that continues to drive you forward?
Yes, absolutely. Here I would like to quote Albert Einstein. So he once mentioned that don't try to be a person of success, try to be a person of value. So at this age, and having traveled this far in my corporate journey, I would like to be a person of value to whichever organization I might be serving. So that would be my professional vision. And Personally, I'm currently trying to align my skill set, my knowledge to AI. So that's something that is intriguing me. And as an organization, also, we have tried to, or we are exploring the opportunities of enabling our products and services to be AI enabled. So that's an area that I'm keenly looking at. understanding the regulatory framework around AI, and as I've mentioned, the ethical standards around AI, which is very, very important. So, professionally, these are certain areas which are very new to me, and I would really like to explore and delve deeper into these things. And there's one more thing that I would like to spend a significant amount of my time is to groom young leaders, mentor them into a leadership position, into boardroom positions, and particularly women. Because I have seen that in the board table, women representation is still very small, if not insignificant. So I would really like to invest a significant amount of my time in grooming young leaders, particularly women leaders, because my experience says that women can really bring in a whole new perspective. The way a man thinks or looks at a situation, a woman can think very differently. So it brings in a lot of inclusivity and a lot of, I would say, a global outlook to the whole scenario. So these are the two things that I would like to focus on.
And Ms. Ganguly, it's truly exciting to hear how your vision continues to evolve. And there is no doubt that your leadership will leave a lasting impact.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so let's move ahead and let's discuss ESG. And since ESG compliance is no longer just a regulatory requirement, it has become a fundamental expectation in today's corporate landscape. Boards and leadership teams are now tasked with ensuring that sustainability and social responsibilities are not just initiatives, but deeply embedded into an organization's governance framework. So, from your perspective, Ms. Ganguly, what are the key steps companies should take to align their governance structures with ESG goals in a way that is both strategic and impactful?
Yes. So, when I started my career, there were still these buzzwords going on, sustainability, climate action, maybe not at the level that it's happening now. But, it was very clear that there was someone in some department working on this. But that is no longer the case now, because let us all frankly admit that there cannot be any business without this planet. And unfortunately, there is no planet B. So it is very important that ESG standards, compliance to ESG standards forms the core of, key decision making. And I guess most organizations are slowly and surely adapting, moving on to that, catching up to the ESG standards. If for our organization, I can definitely say that as part of a societal responsibility, employee well-being is utmost in our organization. Gender inclusivity is utmost in our organization. I'm very happy to say we are one of the few software companies in the MSME sector where almost 38% of our work staff are women. Gender inclusivity, their well-being is of utmost important. As far as environmental concerns are there, efficient energy usage is something that we are closely looking at. It is reviewed at every board meeting, at every important leadership meetings, because everyone these days is conscious about the carbon footprint that they're leaving behind. So that's also another area. Waste management, efficient use of water resources. These are also certain parameters that we have started now looking at. And another thing that I would like to highlight is that as MSME, as I have mentioned in one of your previous questions, that access to credit is difficult for MSME sectors. And not only profitability these days, even banks and NBFCs are looking at ESG standard compliance for credit access. So it is imperative that, we definitely adapt to these ESG standards and make it a base or a foundation for our growth in the coming decade. I would definitely say that. Contributing back to the society, it is not that, as I mentioned, that someone is doing it somewhere. Organization as a whole, to feel one with the society, to feel one with this planet is very important. Once you have that ethos set in your organization, decisions made at the board level will automatically drive the whole company in that direction.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ms. Ganguly. let's move ahead and all right. So that brings us to the last question of the podcast. Okay. So, Ms. Ganguly, professional growth is a continuous journey, as we all know, and being a part of an institution like Directors Institute provides a unique platform for leaders to deepen their governance expertise. So, what motivated you to join Directors Institute? And how has the experience enhanced your perspective on corporate governance and boardroom leadership?
Yes. So, as I have told you in the last 15, 20 minutes, that my career or my journey has been around in the periphery of boardrooms, and in many cases, I have been co opted also as a strategic decision maker in the boardroom. So, having said that, transitioning into boardroom roles, into leadership roles, was quite a natural progression for me. And Directors Institute is such a reputed institute, so I thought that let me, enroll myself with the Directors Institute so that I can upskill myself. There are certain areas which I have not been exposed to in my journey so far, particularly to do with the compliance of listed companies. And that is something that I would definitely like to upskill myself. And as I said, AI and the blockchain world is also something which is very new to me. So I would definitely like to upskill myself on that count. And who better than Directors Institute? I'm sure with the able guidance and mentorship being provided by your institute, I would be able to gather even more deep insight into the whole process, and in return contribute back to the organization and add value to them to the best of my ability.
Great to hear that, Ms. Ganguly.
Thank you so much.
It's always inspiring to see how continuous learning can shape a leader's perspective. And it's wonderful to hear how Directors Institute has played a role in that journey.
Yes, absolutely. It has again kind of nudged me out of my comfort zone, because I'll also have to now finish a few modules, learn certain new things. And yes, but it's interesting because, unless and until you take up challenge, you don't grow.
Exactly, truly. All right, so let me tell you, Ms. Ganguly, this conversation has been truly insightful and inspiring. And your expertise in corporate governance, legal strategy, and compliance has not only shaped organizations, but also set a strong example of ethical and strategic leadership.
Yes, absolutely. Because I feel that's the way forward. Ethical leadership is definitely the way forward, and there cannot be any two ways about it. And every regulatory framework you see these days, circle around that concept of ethical leadership.
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing your knowledge, experiences, and wisdom with us today. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I have no doubt that our listeners have gained invaluable insights from this discussion.
Thank you so much once again for having me here. It's been an absolute honor and privilege for me. Thank you.
Great. So wishing you continued success in all your endeavors, and we look forward to seeing the impact you will continue to make. Thank you once again for joining us on FaceTime with Leaders.